Bill here, Featherweight Guy. I wanted to show you how I deal with this lead encasement on the light assembly, because some of you may want to do the same thing to yours. What I end up doing, I disassemble this. I'm going to pull the wires out, and then I will encase it in shrink tubing, so that when I have the new wires in it, it will still do its job of keeping the wires safely away from that lower gear pair, and it will encase the lead so there's no more danger. So first of all, I'm wearing rubber gloves because lead is toxic to humans, and you can either ingest it by eating lead contaminated things, or sometimes there's lead pipes that leach bits of lead. You drink water that comes through those pipes, you get lead in your body that way. If you sand old lead paint, that was, I think lead paint was banned in, 1972 or somewhere in that ballpark. And so old houses are full of lead paint, and you can ingest lead that way. And then the third way is just absorbing it through your skin. So if you handle lead with bare hands, some of that lead comes into your body that way. So you need to wear gloves when you're handling the lead. I really like these Venom steel gloves. There's no product placements here, but I've tried lots of different rubber gloves. These Venom steel ones are great. I use them over and over again. They're so tough they don't rip. So I simply wash my hands after I'm done this, and then I hang them up to dry, and I keep reusing them until one of them tears. Then I put a fresh one on the one that's torn. So I'm generally working with, not even replacing them in pairs. I'm just replacing them one at a time. All right, so enough about the gloves. Let's take this light apart. So the first thing we need to do is loosen the set screw here, and then there's a screw on the back of the light assembly, which we'll take out. This one's kind of tight. Okay, there we go. And I like my little magnetic dishes for the parts. This whole thing then slides out, and then there is a felt washer that you need to save. And then now we got to take off the back of the light housing. And when this gets new wiring, I rewire every Featherweight as a safety precaution. The old wires have a cloth insulation, which I think is very often dried out, and the rubber that's underneath the cloth is usually all brittle. So here's what we do. We can kind of wiggle it, and there we go, and it pops free. These are soldered on, so when you're redoing the light, you have to resolder these connections. I'm going to cut that. So I will cut these connections off. I'm trying to leave as much wire as I can, and you'll see why in just a second, because to pull that wiring out, I'm going to need to grab the end of the wire. This time I probably have enough length on the other end. The other thing to do to get it ready to pull the wires out is to take pliers. The lead has been pinched. If you see right there where the set screw had been in there, I'm just going to take the pliers and try to work the lead back and forth a little bit to open that up. Okay, a little bit at the bottom end as well. There's a clamp that holds that to the bottom of the sewing machine bed. All right, so that is now ready. I'm going to move the camera over to my vise and show you how I pull the wire out. All right, so I have this small vise. I'm just going to turn that a little bit. I'm going to grab one of the wires in the vise and really tighten that down. And then usually I can kind of pull. This one's going to work. I got the first wire out. So, and now the second one should come out quite easily. There we go. So now I have the lead free. All right. So my next step, this one, by the way, has very little of the kind of corrosion, the lead scale that is often on these. And so all I do to wash it off is I take a small wire brush, and under a stream of water, I brush this vigorously to get the lead clean. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And this won't take long, but to just show you, and I often have quite a mess here of that oxidized lead, but this is going to clean up very easily. I'll just finish this up and then be back in just a minute, and we'll put the heat shrink on there. Okay, here's that piece of lead now that's had the wires pulled out of it, and it's been cleaned, and I just dried it in my parch dryer. So now what I'm going to do is encase it in shrink tubing. And I get this at Harbor Freight. This is 5/16 heat shrink tubing. It comes in an 8-foot long piece there. It's only like $3 or something like that for a package of that. I simply hold my piece of lead up there, get a length. I go just a tad over the edge, maybe a 1/16 of an inch over the edge, and cut it off. There we are. And then this fits pretty well over it's just the right size to fit over this lead. So you simply push it on and get it all the way through. And I want a little bit evened up on the ends there, and that's it right about there. And then all we need to do is heat shrink this down. I have a heat gun, but I'm kind of lazy, and I often just use a lighter. And this will do the same thing. You can see how that shrinks down and fits very snugly. So I'm not going to do the whole thing here, but you can see now we've got the lead completely encased. The wires will come through, and this piece of lead does a great job of keeping the lamp wires away from those gears, which I think is probably the highest risk part of the electrical system on a featherweight. If those wires get abraded against the gears, it's going to energize the whole body of the featherweight, which is, of course, made of aluminum. And then you're going to be the ground that completes the circuit, and you're going to get zapped. And we definitely don't want that. So safety is very important. I really feel like the wiring on a featherweight is probably the #1 safety risk. And this lead sheath has an important role in that. So I think by encasing the lead completely in shrink tubing, we get the best of both worlds. We get the protection that lead offers to keep the gears and the wires separated, and we've made it completely safe to handle, and it's not going to oxidize and create problems for you in the future. So that's it for now. Thank you.